Hello everybody, it is now January 1st and I first filmed this about 2-3 weeks ago, but like an idiot I made a big mistake on it and I thought that okay, I'll do another take tomorrow, and yeah, didn't quite work out that way. Yeah, this was supposed to be my heavy metal update number 2024, but instead this is 2025. So let's get started. This is a Black Sabbath Master of Reality. I've told this before, back in the roughly around mid-80s, I was first introduced to Black Sabbath, and I had a friend who had all Black Sabbath album from the first album all the way to Born Again. This was before the release of Seven Star. My other friend bought it once it was released, and I did hear that one too. But I heard all of the albums except for this one, which is probably the reason why it took me many years before I finally bought this once I started buying Black Sabbath albums. Well, I did buy the two Ronnie James Dio Black Sabbath albums back in the 80s, but after that it went all the way until 2000s before I started buying Black Sabbath albums. Yeah, it's a good solid album. I actually prefer this one, for example, to Paranoid. But yeah, it's not my favorite of the Ozzy era albums. Maybe in my top 3, but yeah, not my number 1 chosen anyway. But yeah, very good album. Okay, then Iron Maiden, Senjutsu. Yeah, I have to say I wasn't too thrilled when I heard that they were about to release a triple album, but I bought it, and well, there was a misunderstanding with myself. I thought that this would last about 2 hours, but in reality it lasted like, was it 82, 83 minutes. I just listened to this day before yesterday. So yeah, it's a good, solid album. Personally, I don't think that there's any songs here that I would point my finger at, say that I wish they would have left that one off. But on the other hand, I don't think that this includes any like real classics. Yeah, of course, I don't remember now the title, but the song on the side E is my favorite here. Yeah, good solid album, but I do have to say that I do wonder if the days of real Iron Maiden classic songs is behind them by now. But still, good solid album. Okay, next one. Okay, let me take this off. This next band is one that I kept hearing over the years, and it sort of piqued my interest, and I decided that okay, I have to check them out finally. And I first bought 2 CDs. What was it? Power of the Night and Fight for the Rock. And I thought that yeah, those are like good albums. But then I started hearing like people saying that yeah, those 2 aren't really good albums. And then these reissues started coming, and I bought Dungeons Are Calling, which kind of surprises me because I recall that I bought these albums in the order when they were reissued. So would they have really started with the second album? Well, this is more like an EP rather than a full-length album, but still, would they have really started with the second album? But yeah, after I had bought this, I realized really like why there was like complaints about those 2 albums that I had bought, because this album is much more like vintage heavy metal, good melodies, fast driving, strong songs, whereas the others they are good, but they really lack like the strong melodic hooks. This one reissue comes with this single Avatar, which was their original name. This includes 3 songs: City Beneath the Surface, Sirens, and The Weep. And yeah, good, although recording-wise not really great quality, which is surprising since they recorded it with a shoestring budget. But yeah, this was really, really good. I really got into Savatage with this one. Okay, then Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears. I bought this one on CD early 2000s, I think it was. And I have to say I wasn't too impressed with this. Maybe at the time I wasn't too keen on heavy metal anyway. But what really bothered me here was the Zakk Wylde's those guitar squeals that he really like overworked here. Really annoyed me. But over the years I have gotten used to this, and these days I think it's a good, solid Ozzy album. But unfortunately I have to say that my favorite song is not included here. It's a B-side of one of the singles, which I obviously can't remember right now which single it is, but it's as a bonus track on the CD version, a song called Don't Blame Me, which is my favorite of this. But yeah, good, solid Ozzy album. Not among my favorites, because I prefer the 80s albums. Okay, then Gary Moore, G-Force, reissue obviously, because originally Gary Moore's name wasn't included here on the sleeve. This is one after he left Thin Lizzy and Black Rose. He really went into strong heavy metal. So this is really, really like a heavy metal album. To me, the worst thing about this is the balance of the album. Side A is great, or rather these are marked like side 7 and side 8. But anyway, You, White Knuckles and Rock and Rollin', She's Got You, I Look at You, really good A side, but then the B side is lacking because of Your Love, You Kissed Me Sweetly, Hot Gossip, The Woman's in Love and Dancing. Just doesn't really match up with the side A. So yeah, really makes you feel like a really good half an album and then decent other album. So should have been balanced better, but yeah. As far as Gary Moore album is, it's really like heavy metal album from Gary Moore, just like the Live in Japan album from a few years later. Okay, this next one, I don't remember exactly, but it must have been one of those internet discussions with this is a really good Forgotten albums. I had never heard of them, never seen this album, but I like the sleeve picture, so I thought that I have to give this one a chance. And to my surprise, it really didn't take me long. It was probably just a matter of a couple of weeks I found this here on the store, which I was certain that if I am ever going to find this, I have to look this one online. But yeah, I found this here on the store. This is a band called Tangier, 4 Winds from 1989. Not exactly heavy metal, this is more like a hard rock. But yeah, really good. The vocalist, actually, when I listened to it, I started thinking that, hold on, that really reminds me of someone. It took me a moment, but he really reminds me of Graham Bonnet. He has this same kind of one of the, let's say, the vocal expressions that he does really reminds me of Graham Bonnet. Yeah, really good hard rock album, not strictly heavy metal, but yeah, just really, really good hard rock album. Really like, not that much, but a little bit on the same vein as Cinderella, having this bluesy hard rock feel to it. Okay, next one. Dead Daisies, Holy Ground. I first heard Dead Daisies when I saw them supporting Whitesnake, which I at the time found it to be kind of hilarious, because in my opinion, Dead Daisies at that time had more of Whitesnake members than Whitesnake that they were supporting. I don't have all of the albums. I have maybe 3 or 4 of the albums, and I think that this one is their best album. This one has got Glenn Hughes as their vocalist and bassist. It was announced at the time that Glenn Hughes would be only there temporarily because John Corabi, for I don't know why, but for whatever reason, was absent from the band. And I think this is their best album, not just because Glenn Hughes is there. And I do like John Corabi. I think he's a really good vocalist. But yeah, I think this is just clearly the best song material that they have. Yeah, really good album. Then on to the first Sabotage album, Sirens. When I first saw this, I was wondering like, what's that? Because I knew this album with the sleeve with the children on it, so I didn't know that this was the original sleeve. But yeah, again, just like Dungeons Are Calling, this is really, really good album. Really strong heavy metal, inventive, melodic, just brilliant album. And then this is the one that I owned back in the 80s, and then I sold it. Now I thought it's time for me to give this one another chance. This is Van Halen 5150. Back in the 80s, I had, and I still do have, all of the singles of this album, and I realized that those singles were all that I needed. To be more precise, those A-sides. With the B-sides included, I think there's only one song here which isn't included on those singles, so I really didn't find this necessary. So now I wanted to give this one another chance, and I came to the same conclusion as I did back then. The single A-sides is all that I need from here. The rest of the material, it's at least today I think that they're okay. Back then I didn't really like them. There's only one song here which I didn't really like, but rest of the material is okay. So these days I don't have a need to get rid of this album anymore, and I really like this sleeve. Really different to what Van Halen had done before, which matches the feeling of the music here also. But yeah, I didn't change my mind. The single A-sides is all that I need from here. Then this one came from Cloudy Myler. Not sure have I seen anybody else promote this band, but this is Magnum Chase the Dragon. He gave so much praise to this band that I decided that I have to give this one a chance. And I wanted to get one of their earlier albums because I do remember that back in the mid-80s I heard, I think, 2 songs from what was it, Sky Channel at the time, I think it was. It was really like AOR, those songs that I heard that I didn't care for. So I wanted to give the earlier albums a chance. This one is from 1982, and this is much more leaning towards heavy metal than those songs that I remember from the mid-80s. So yeah, really good. I still haven't bought more. I think I bought this like 3 years ago, was it? Roughly around 3 years ago. I still haven't bought more, but I am open to buying more. So yeah, really surprising find to me. And then Kiss Destroyer. This is the double LP version. There was also a full box set, but I decided to stick with the double LP. The second LP includes on side 3 are Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons demos, and side 4 are rarities. Acoustic mix of Beth, live rehearsal instrumental of King of the Nighttime World, instrumental of Dick Drodraxy, early version of Flaming Youth, stuff like that. I personally prefer these rarities to those demos. Demos were really rough, but on the other hand, it's kind of interesting to hear from how rough the starting point was going into the finished article, and you can really hear how much work Bob Ezrin had put in to create this album. So yeah, especially considering Kiss's 70s albums, this is clearly the one that they used most, like the production work. I think all of the other 70s albums were really like just get them done, record them, put them out. Not much work put them into in that sense. Obviously there's been production put into them, but this is the one that really sounds like produced album. Then Aerosmith, The Road Starts Here. Live recording from 1971. Being from 1971, the sound quality obviously isn't the best possible, but it's decent enough. I can listen to it. It doesn't really bother me. What you also can hear is that the band isn't really like ready at this point. Another 2 years before they released their debut album. But the songs here, I think all of these, Somebody, I think that's from the first album, Reeferhead Woman, Walking the Dog, Moving Out, Major Barbara, Dream On, and Mama Kin. Major Barbara was one of the songs that they didn't really record. To my knowledge, there's only the first recorded version is on the Classics Live album, which has a sort of a bonus track. It's a studio version on there. So yeah, good and fascinating way to hear the band in their early stages, but obviously, even from the just playing point of view, they would get a lot better than this. But fascinating view of them as an early band. And then Smith and Kotzen, the album, Adrian Smith and Richie Kotzen. I knew Richie Kotzen only as a name. I didn't know basically anything about him. But this is like really heavy metal album. Considering Adrian Smith, is there any Iron Maiden thing views here? No, there isn't. This is completely different. Very strong heavy metal album, but obviously I can't like really push the Iron Maiden angle from my mind. So one thing that this one lacks is the use of light and shade. This is just very strong heavy metal album, and I would have wished that they had used more of this light and shade. There is some of it here, but they could have used more of that kind of thing, even without having any Iron Maiden influences. And like I said, there is in here. But I actually prefer the mini album that they released shortly after this one. But yeah, good album. I have listened to it more than just the initial listens. Okay, hopefully I will be making another video soon. That's it for this time. Hope you like this. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment. Bye.